Well, yeah, that actually reminds me. I've got a treat here for the audience. And, David, you're not allowed to see this until, because I picked 2 good movies today. It's Xavier's Choice Day. And I wrote down this before David got here.
No, you didn't. You wrote it as I was here. You went upstairs and wrote it.
No?
Yes, you did.
No, I swear to you, I had it written because I was expecting you to get here at like 4 o'clock, and then you showed up at 5:30, so I had it written. And I'm going to reveal to you what's on that piece of paper after we get to talking about the movie. So, being that you guys showed up like 3 hours later than you were supposed to, and we have school tomorrow. Against Venom. You know, just because, like, the sort of symmetry of it is nice. Like, it's scary, evil Super Spider-Man is what Venom is.
Wait, what?
I muted it.
Did you? Oh.
Or did I?
I thought you did.
Oh.
Really? To Couch Potatoes, everyone.
Is the sound good?
Oh, there it is.
It's recording, in case I didn't make that clear enough.
Oh, gee, really?
The fucking voice.
It is! That's great news, guys!
Calm down.
I'm gonna do that voice all day.
Why are
Can
you
the
Kermit now?
Can the mic pick up all of that? I don't know. That wasn't really Kermit.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Kermit the Frog here.
There you go.
Okay,
Kermit
we need to get rid of this thing.
It's,
Or else I'm gonna cry.
what?
The little thing that I.
It's
I'm hurting.
So we
Mike
were.
right now.
So we were supposed
solid
to.
intro.
Oh my god. So
So we were supposed to watch Akira and whatchamacallit?
but we're all late.
Yeah.
It's all Xavier's fault.
Yeah, we were late showing up to his house, so it's his fault.
Yeah, I'm
Way
sorry,
to make
guys.
it real good and obvious.
I'm sorry, guys.
So, because of that, we are now going to be talking about something a little bit. We're just going to be talking about Fight Club.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can. Why? How much can you know about yourself? You've never been in a fight.
Wait, let me start earlier. Like many of you, I was stuck.
No, you can't die from insomnia.
I'd flip through catalogs and wonder, what kind of dining set defines me as a person? This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. I prayed for a different life.
Soap. I make and I sell soap.
And this is how I met Tyler Durden.
Come on, hit me before I lose my nerve. Oh. Ow! You hit me in the ear!
It was on the tip of everyone's tongue.
Can I be next?
We just gave it a name.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
Yeah.
Well, we're.
You know what? Just for fun, you should put in the thumbnail and the video title Fight Club and Akira. And then just disappoint everyone. So anyway, Fight Club is a movie from 1999 or 1997. I'm not quite sure, but it's one of my all-time favorites. And I thought I would show it to David since he's never seen it before, and maybe have Josh come rewatch it since he's seen it one time before.
Frick you. Sorry.
He's playing Sonic.
Playing
Capture.
a really good Sonic
He's
game.
playing Dr. Robotnik's Mean Machine.
Mean Bean Machine. You can't forget the bean.
The bean part is important.
Fucking hate.
So anyway, if you haven't seen Fight Club already, let me just preface the review with saying it's pretty good, and I highly recommend it. Go watch it. And this is going to be a very spoiler-heavy review.
Let's be honest, it's been spoiled for you already. It was spoiled for me.
Do you use the internet?
It's
been spoiled.
He's practically Amish, so if it hasn't been spoiled, for you guys.
I got lucky
What?
with the movie.
How am I Amish?
I mean, you don't touch technology. That's what the Amish do, right?
They avoid all forms of modern technology.
Yeah.
And-
well, then what am I presenting wrong?
I lost my train of thought. I'm tired.
when I
because
first-
there's an incestuous undertone, I think.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so
I'm
in
sorry.
2009, I first saw this movie, and I was about 11 at the time, and it was in the middle of the summer. And I actually hadn't heard of it before, but I had seen the cover of it in like the VHS store a couple of times back when that was a thing.
The VHS store.
Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, so I kept seeing it, and I immediately had this vision of a movie in my head, and it just was like basically Street Fighter, just by the title alone. So I thought it was going to be about some random guy who, like, joins an underground fight club and has to work his way to the top and defeat the crime boss who runs it. And then I realized that it's completely fucking different from that in every possible way imaginable. And it was very refreshing to see something that kind of threw me off so hard at such a young age. And the twist actually worked on me because that was before I really started getting super into the internet.
I mean, it worked on me, and I watched it a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah, but, I mean, just the way people had been talking about this movie, like, oh, it's the best movie ever, I love it, and all that fun stuff, I just kind of clocked out, and I didn't want to watch it, so I've been avoiding this movie intentionally until today.
So what word would you use to describe the sort of fan reception to the movie?
Cultish.
Okay. So would you say it's like, do people like overestimate how good it is?
Yes. They say, oh, it's the best movie ever, I love it, it was great, you should see it, and blah, blah, blah.
What's the word for that?
Yeah.
Overhype? I don't know.
No, it's a different one. It's similar. It's
I die? Are you... Now I'm playing Sonic.
God, it's bugging the shit out of me. What word is that?
Fuck, I couldn't tell you.
Overblown?
No.
Close. I think, what is it? It's not overhyped, it's
Rated?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Would you say it's overrated?
Yes. Now,
That's fair.
not to say that it's necessarily a bad movie, but anything that's been blown up to the hyperbolic proportions that this movie has been is gonna underwhelm compared to what they actually say it is.
Yeah, it's like when
I guess.
It's like when you watch Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. It's a really great landmark movie, but it's been ripped off and talked about to death so many times that watching it is boring now because it's super cliche. Like, that's the sort of thing that happens when a movie is really awesome when it first comes out, is that everyone either references it or talks about how great it is or rips it off to the point that if you haven't seen it, you watch it and it's just like, okay. Like our friend Kyle hadn't seen a single Star Wars movie his entire life until he was 18, and he was just like, it's alright. Because if you have that kind of expectation of it from what other people talk about, it's never going to live up to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
That's kind of like why I avoided this movie, was because I knew that whenever I talked about this movie with somebody who likes it, I'd always have to say, I didn't like it that much. It was fine. So I kind of avoided that in the first place by just not watching it at all.
Okay.
I guess that makes sense, but at the same time, the way you take overhype is all up to you, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like like the whole Fallout 4 debacle.
Oh, the thing is, I just like to
rough subject.
I just like to.
Yeah, trust me, I get that. But like, for example, Half-Life 3 is, if it ever comes out, is going to be in that same situation where people are going to have to like realize, hey, this game isn't going to be nearly as good as I thought it was going to be. It's not going to have like everything I've ever wanted, you know.
Yeah.
So,
at this point, I'd just settle for a conclusion of the story.
Well, I'm sure you would, but a lot of people wouldn't.
A lot of people are expecting the second coming of Jesus.
Exactly.
In the form of a video
That's
game.
literally what they're
Sorry to say it,
expecting,
but
though.
Gabe Newell, or whatever his name
Yeah,
is,
that's him.
is not that person.
There's been a lot of Photoshops, though.
There's been so many.
Yeah, I remember, what was it, Gabe.tv, where there was like, are you ready for a
Are you
miracle?
ready? Yeah. He plays a gospel song from like what the fucking mid-2000s. You're
Yeah.
like, fuck, oh god.
It's great, but that's kind of
wonderful.
like my reasoning for not doing this movie, because I just didn't really... I didn't want to... I didn't want to... Like,
put yourself in the position where
Yeah.
when someone says, yeah, I love that movie, and you can go, yeah, it's alright. So let's actually talk about it for a moment.
every single day, every single time somebody brings up a Star Wars movie, I have that reaction, and
That's a different scenario.
it's like,
How fast Sonic is going.
compared to like
Sonic is so fast.
I mean, compared to this movie, it's not as bad, or it's different because it's not like a cult movie. It's everybody knows it, but I just don't want to have another movie where I'm just like, it was fine.
I understand
I guess.
that. So
But
let's...
The actual movie, I I just came into this movie knowing the twist and just not really being all that excited for it. And in terms of what I got, it's pretty much what I expected.
So, what exactly did you get? Like, if you had to...
I expected a, like, weird, like, nihilist, pseudo-philosophical movie that made some interesting points, but in the end I had no idea what it was talking about, and the story ended up, like, just kind of unsatisfying because I just didn't really understand what it was about.
Okay. Well, I actually know a lot of the background behind this movie. Just because I like it in the book that it's based on so much. Although this is one of the rare cases where the movie is better than the book. I know that in the 90s there was a lot of like female empowerment friendship novels. Like, I don't know if this one is a specific example from the right time period, but have you ever heard of like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
Nope.
Nope.
Not at all.
It's just some book about a bunch of girls becoming the bestest friends in the whole wide world. And it's just sort of like this archetype for what I'm explaining. But basically, the author, Chuck Palahniuk, I hope I'm saying that right,
I don't care.
basically said, there's no novels for, like, empowerment and friendship in men. So I want to create something like that, where it's, like, male bonding. And what do men like to do? They like to talk about life while also beating the shit out of things.
Everyone's tongue.
Can I be next?
We just gave it a name.
So he created...
a fucking warped way of, like...
Right?
This movie did not feel like a bonding experience.
Well, I mean...
Especially with the ending. Like,
there's all those scenes with the guys, just, like, the camaraderie and, like, friendship. Like, when Tyler is, like, congratulating Angel Face after they just successfully, extorted and threatened the mayor or whatever.
Of the city, yeah.
Or, Robert Paulson, but, like, truly getting confidence in himself again after, like, losing everything. Like, all the characters, except for the main character, sort of come out of this movie, like, better off than they started. Like, everyone is really happy by the end, except the guy who starts it all. And obviously, the narrator, who doesn't have a name officially, is Tyler Durden, 'cause, like I said, spoilers.
Spoilers if you're Amish and you've never been on the internet.
Yeah.
I honestly don't believe that's true. I don't know, but you guys should let us know, because I honestly didn't think that many people knew the ending to Fight Club. Like, it wasn't like a Bioshock was to me, where everyone knew the ending of.
It's not like a joke like Sixth Sense, where everyone goes, Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time, constantly, or Snape kills Dumbledore, or Luke is.
Xavier.
Darth Vader is Luke's father. Like, it's not quite on the status.
I didn't feel that at all.
Spoiled as all of those, but it skirts the line.
Maybe.
In the circles that I'm in, it's definitely that.
What circles are those?
Where I watch YouTube reviews of movies and stuff.
Oh,
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Well, it's almost like you get watch a movie without watching a movie.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch Nostalgia Critic, since there's no actual analysis and it's just like a summary of the movie, you could watch like a 3-hour movie in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Although
that was a mean
we
thing
like
to
the
say.
Nostalgia Critic.
Fucking hell! Oh god.
So we don't mean any offense to the Nostalgia Critic.
Fuck you.
But in terms of this movie, let's
calm down.
bring up some. How can we talk about something that hasn't been talked to death about with this movie?
Okay, well let's start with the basics.
This movie's had its cooldown.
What do you think of the functionality? How do you think it was directed and edited and everything? Because I think it's some tight filmmaking, like all around. Everything.
It's really cool.
Right?
I agree.
I think really cool. The editing is like absolutely on point. I like the pacing because it's a very slow burn all the way into a very explosive climax. Mm-hmm. Literally. And I also am very fond of the like sort of abstract style of pacing, where it's like some scenes don't technically happen and are more of just like a representation of thoughts of the main character. And like, if I could say what one other movie I'd want to be exactly like this, I would say I feel like the Deadpool movie should have been tonally, editing, music, shots, like everything should have been basically like Fight Club, but with a superhero character.
I was thinking about that since you said it during the movie, and all I could think of was Marvel needed to make this marketable to
Yeah.
It was the first rated R movie. It needed to be marketable to.
It was a lot more lighthearted than it could have been.
Well,
but
of course.
whereas Fight Club is kind of like
sad and dark. Like no one was
Yeah.
no one would dare take that tone on, especially if they're responsible for making one of the first.
the
What was
thing
it?
is, like-
Rated R Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Here's something
Yeah.
important to say. Like
one of.
One of, but it was like
Well, the
big
biggest, the most mainstream. But
Mhm.
anyway, here's something to note that
Shit.
Fight Club
Give me a bubble.
did not make
me
did
back.
not break even when it first came out, and I think it might have made a slim profit based on video sales since then. Although it's no Deadpool, so
Yeah.
you can understand why for the
Well, yeah.
longest time people didn't make these type of movies.
Yeah, I get it. Honestly, I totally get it.
It's a
Deadpool.
very cult movie, but
And it's about a cult, technically. Well,
So-
also a terrorist organization.
Not technically. That's what we perceive it as, because I mean that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was the aim.
Yeah, there's a lot of different angles to it. Like, I also know that,
Stop drowning, Sonic.
actually the book has a completely different ending, by the way. And I think the ending of the book is garbage compared to the movie version. Now, keep in mind, I might get a couple of details wrong, considering it's been, like, 10 years since I read. But I think the ending is, like, Tyler intends to blow up some kind of museum instead of all the credit card companies. And then after the narrator stops him, he just has this really weird abstract scene where he's in, like, a mental institution having a conversation with God about life and stuff. I feel like that was totally, like, unsatisfying, and I much prefer the ending the movie came up with.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, the ending where he shoots himself and then like
Romantically
how does
watches
that
the world
work?
end with
How does
Well, when you see the bullet wound exit, there's blood on the side of his head.
no.
Like,
Well, I understand that it was a flesh wound, but I don't understand how that would solve his split personality disorder.
This entire movie was totally speaking in tongues, and by tongues I mean metaphors. So I feel like
Yeah.
that shooting of himself was like shooting that that part that he didn't want of himself. Like I was
Yeah.
trying to tell you that the whole movie, the entire movie was just did not want to take itself literally, and kept doing things where it would just like take you in a direction you needed to really read into it to understand it. I
everything
don't
is
mind
very
that.
meticulously
Fuck you.
planned. Oh, you got
Game
game over.
Enough of that.
Everything's very meticulously planned, and I like a lot of the like. For example, there's a scene very early on in the movie where the narrator is in like a hotel room, and it's during a montage, and he's like watching a TV show, and there's a bunch of chefs, like saying "welcome" because it's like the.
It's just a commercial.
It's like I think it was like the instructional video for the hotel or something like.
No,
"Welcome to our hotel."
right.
Yeah, and Brad Pitt is one of the.
He's on the far right,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's one of the chefs. And,
Watching this movie a second time was really cool.
and then there's watching this movie multiple times is good because you can always find something new. Or also one of my favorite little facts is that the significance of the fact they live on Paper Street is because Paper Street is a term for streets that don't technically exist and only are marked on maps, but you can't actually find.
Oh, hey, like that John Green book, Paper Towns.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that.
I read that book.
You got so excited.
And I
Did you
wished
not like it?
I hated it.
Really?
I thought it was...
Okay.
It was a book about nothing that managed to make teenage white middle class angst, and they tried to make that into like a serious psychological issue, and I feel like that...
It's like Fight Club for bitches.
No,
And by bitches, I mean us.
it's like Fight Club, except instead of punching each other, they just decided to mildly punk the classmates that they don't like. Like, the worst thing they did in that movie was take a picture of somebody while they were nude. That was it.
Well, that's what Snapchat's for, am I right?
Shut up, Xavier.
Here's a laugh track playing right
Somewhere.
now.
I mean... things like he
Well,
says,
you know, it's almost like a YA book written for like 30-year-old depressed like white collar workers. Like if you take young adult out of young adult book, like it's aimed at a very specific demographic.
It's too deep and pretentious for that. And I know you're gonna say, but that's what young adults books do, and kind of, but it's in a different way.
Well, I mean, they talk about like Tyler and the narrator have that conversation where they say, their fathers were their model for God, and both of their fathers left. So, like, what does that mean about God? Like, Chuck Palahniuk said that he wanted to speak to a generation of people that, like, he said that he felt like there was some kind of, like, mass demasculation happening. Like, a whole generation of men weren't allowed to be violent and were just kind of, like, complacent in the 90s. And he wanted to write a book about, like, going against that. Now, you could mark him down as just, like, a crazy person based on the story. That's very apt. But I understand his reasoning, and I actually kind of like the angle just because the finished product it shows. Yeah, I like how many different themes are in this movie. There's a lot of different things you can pick apart.
Mm-hmm. I love how every movie in the 90s was about... Well, not every movie, but, like, the movies that people remember about the 90s were about existential crises. And the music that we had in the 90s were about existential crises. So, like, think, like, The Matrix. Oh, no, I have a boring, successful job and I have a nice apartment. Oh, wait, I'm Jesus.
Oh no, I have a boring, successful job and a nice apartment. Oh no, I'm Bin Laden. That's this movie.
And then there's American Beauty, where he wants to have...
Oh no, I'm a successful businessman who has a nice house. Better fuck a teenager.
Jesus. Fucking hell.
Yeah, you know what? The 90s were filled with a lot of that.
No, a lot of existentialism.
Of course, there's the music, like Nirvana, which I don't listen to, but I heard
Nine Inch Nails, Nirvana, Korn. There's a lot of, like, just... like
existentially, the world's a lie. It doesn't mean anything.
The world sucks right now.
If you read any lyrics to Nirvana songs, you're like, oh god.
Well, yeah, there's the Nirvana songs that make sense, and then there's the Nirvana songs that are just here's a bunch of words,
and you're like, and afterward you feel depressed.
like,
well,
yeah, and it was kind of, I kind of feel angry at like this movie and like all that stuff from the 90s because it's like, man, you're complaining about the problems that you had? Well, at least you have enough money to have an existential crisis.
Yeah. You know what? Having had a lot of money problems lately, I'm like... Like, this movie's anti-materialism sort of angle. It's like, gosh, I wish I could afford nice things just to blow them up.
Yeah.
And then to talk about how useless they are.
The thing is, you can only say...
That's true.
That you can only really say that things don't matter if you have enough to begin with.
Yeah.
I suppose.
So would you say that the tone of the movie is... Like, what word would you use?
The first word that jumps to mind is caustic.
Okay.
Jeez.
What's another one you'd use?
I would use, cynical, depressing...
Depressing is fair. Depressing is fair.
I'm not going to use the word pretentious because I know you have that on your list.
I'll put an X there.
Hey, yeah. Oh, and you barely missed that one too.
Barely. He came so close. He said a synonym for it.
Yeah,
I'm
he did.
wondering if I want to mark it.
No, he said two. I thought he said two. No, who cares? He was close.
Well, anyway, I also wrote down a list.
He's gonna go for that one.
I also wrote down a thing that I also thought Josh would say about
and he
Akira.
was spot on. Holy shit!
I actually, word for word, exactly the thing.
I guess I just have a bigger vocabulary.
Yeah.
No, you have like this list of like long words that we thought you were gonna use, and then mine is, it's so pretty.
Josh's opinion of Akira, quote, it's so pretty.
I like art. It's pretty. I'm sorry I didn't eat it at the source when I was fucking 5. Like some people.
I'm sorry, I'm such a pedantic asshole.
Pedantic. I'm sad that pedantic is a word that I don't use.
Yeah, you should use pedantic one. We were using. No, we were talking about that after that thing at school. Anyway, we lost track.
Fight Club.
Usually,
Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Other words that I would use to describe it: free word association. Like angry, bitter, misanthropic, sort of like
How do you describe the...
disestablishmentarianism.
I guess. That's true.
I'm just kidding. I wrote a check mark just to fuck with you. That wasn't actually on there. Now, what would you describe the visuals of the movie as?
ugly.
Holy shit, Xavier. Holy shit, dude.
Like mustard yellows and like
half the time he's fucking with
like
you, but
relish greens. Like, all those ugly like mustardy like fungusy colors.
I saw neons. I was happy. It was a nice mix of neon and like that bitter undertone, where everything is just dark and red and black.
It's a very bitter and angry movie.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Though. Here's the thing. I agree. It was cynical.
Mm-hmm.
But in the cynical sense of the word, I don't even know what I'm saying. It was cynical, but it was also funny.
You know, it
have
had
to
a
admit.
sense of humor about being bitchy,
Which is, like, it had that sense of nihilism, but it added a comedic spin to it, and I really liked that.
which is the tone of Deadpool in
yes.
the comics.
And
It's
again,
life sucks,
That's not
but
gonna
it's
happen.
okay
I'm
to laugh
sorry,
at it.
Xavier. It's not
I
gonna happen
know.
in the movies.
Ugh.
Yeah, I
Stop
know.
talking about Deadpool. We know you like Deadpool.
You know what? In episode 2 of this show, I wore a Deadpool jersey with a black t-shirt, and now I'm wearing that again, except it's a different Deadpool jersey, because I have more than one.
How many Deadpool logos do you have on your body right now? 3.
3?
My belt buckle, my tattoo, and my fucking shirt.
And don't forget your wallet.
Too much. Oh my god. Oh.
Look, I'm a Star Trek fan.
Smiles at the camera.
Oh, hey, look, I've got
Pay
a
him,
Spider-Man
Marvel.
shirt on, so I've got one nerdy thing.
Why the fuck are you wearing that?
Yeah, that's not good enough, dude. Where's your tattoo, man?
No, why are you wearing that? You have of all the people on the planet who have no reason to wear that. There's a kid who speaks Swahili and wears the fucking clover leaf to bed.
fucking Queens.
And then there's that. There's that person who has no reason to be wearing that t-shirt right now.
I hope to God the mic isn't peaking.
It is.
Have fun editing this sound, douchebag. I love you.
Oh god, I'm so sorry.
Man, I love when we have Josh here because it gets so hectic.
I'm sorry. I don't even do anything.
Can this be
to
a
make you guys
40-minute
even
episode?
I decided to... I was originally going to limit it to 20 minutes, but I decided we were having some good banter, so I decided to bend it, so I think I'm going to cut it off at around 33, 35-ish.
Okay, alright. Well.
Cool.
Now,
So,
9 minutos.
what do you think of
boys.
the characters?
Oh my god,
characters,
How well do I know you? This is like that relationship game that couples play where
Oh
they,
my god.
where they ask,
That's what I've been thinking the whole time, dude. You guys are just
where they
like
go,
the
what is your
two
favorite
Americans.
color? And then your spouse has to write down the thing and then show it, and then if it's wrong,
If it's
they're
wrong,
a
they're
bad
done.
husband.
Dude, they're done. No, they're
Yeah.
done. Like fucking. There's a
What's
divorce.
their characters like?
let's see,
Pedantic.
everybody in the movie is like, just kind of like self-centered.
Yeah.
And very, like, self-serving, and almost all of them, the main characters at least, are complete screw-ups.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of, like, weird, like, I don't know, they're not, like, some of them are really, really weird, and they're, like, kind of, like, if you feel like they just woke up from, like, a trash can, or from sleeping in a trash can
Yeah, they just
overnight.
climbed out of a dumpster and then wandered into frame.
Yeah, like, everybody's dirty, everybody's covered in sweat, even more than a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of sweat per capita in this movie.
Well, in the age of self-deprecation, I think this is a great movie to be relatable to.
yeah, I find the main character sadly relatable,
Yeah,
having
it's
problems
depressing.
with both depression and insomnia myself.
And it's funny because this is a movie about practically a midlife crisis, and we can relate.
What does that say
Well,
about our generation? Are we just hyper accelerated to be
Maybe
fucked
we're
up
not
earlier?
I hope to God we're not the representation of our generation, because oh boy,
We're better. You know what? We're a better representation of our generation than the stereotype that you see in those anti-smoking ads of people swipe left. Listen to some rap music. Oh look, there's Epic Meal Time. Like there's
God.
there's those versions of teenagers, and then there's us.
yeah.
And between the two, as many problems and horrible things as we do, I think we're a better thing for the future than they are.
maybe
So,
yeah,
like,
passion, man. That's all it takes.
I mean,
Oh my gosh, do you guys like Snapchat? I gotta make sure I send an accompanying selfie with every text message instead of just sending
yeah, Snapchat
normal letters like a normal person.
anyway, so I thought, like, I already knew where this movie was going. I knew that the buildings were gonna blow up, and
Just
I
check
knew
it.
he was gonna shoot it, and I knew all that stuff. So it was kind of interesting to put the pieces together about how they were going to do it. Now I feel like my viewing experience was interesting because I knew like the Cliff Notes version of the story.
Yeah.
But I didn't know
How it
everything
all
in the
like
middle.
stuck together. It was nice seeing the glue.
Yeah, and I really,
Yeah.
really liked and the
liked-
glue is really beautiful.
It was kind of
really
funny.
Well done.
Like I liked the moments that I didn't see more than the moments that are iconic that I did see.
Of course,
Like
it's that whole
stuff
overhyped
like the blowing up of the buildings and oh no, I'm Tyler Durden. I don't care about that. It's like that doesn't matter if there isn't an interesting story or characters that you're gonna get interested in. And like this wasn't like something that I would get interested in so much as like a sick fascination.
Yeah, this movie is like watching a guy just like slowly fuck up the world on accident.
You didn't really care about this character so much as you were like it was kind of like a car accident of a character.
Yeah.
How like even though you know when you're driving you should be looking at where you're going and where you're supposed to be driving, if there's a car accident, you're going to look.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's that sort of like
Sick
It's a really
fascination.
fucked
Yeah.
up way to put it, but yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, that's what makes me feel bad for relating to a lot of his problems and opinions. Like, I think his sort of, like, dry wit and sort of, like, sarcasm that he throws towards things is, like,
I really
reminds me a
liked
lot
it.
of myself. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's annoying that this character doesn't have a name. You're just calling him the main character.
The narrator too. Like,
You know what?
it's
My
really
favorite
gonna be
thing
a
about
Well-
because there was a sequel to this in the form of a comic book by the author of the book. One of my favorite things in it, like I didn't like the sequel overall, but I like that when it takes place 15 years later and the main character has a kid and they just refer to him as Junior.
Wouldn't it?
They don't tell you what his name is. He's
Here's
just Junior.
my question.
Junior. Gosh dang.
Would it be easier to relate to it, or would it be harder to relate to this main character if he had a name?
I think the kind of anonymity that he has.
I think that's.
That adds relatability.
I don't think that he should have had a name.
I
Me neither.
like that
Me
he
neither.
doesn't.
See
Actually.
that? Okay, so here's the thing that I really liked about the characters in this movie. All of them had some sort of sense of mystery to them. And
Yeah.
as pretentious as whatever that may be, I really liked that, right? Because
Don't check it off because it's on his.
it's on his list.
not
I'm
a
like,
word that he
hey,
normally
you only have one.
uses.
You have to give me like
Yeah.
a billion next time.
Okay.
Anyway, everyone had a sense of mystery, and it was really cool. But the biggest sense of mystery you got out of the main character was not only trying to understand his mindset and like what he was trying to figure out about himself, but the sense that not even I don't know. Like I said, this movie's filled with metaphors. So his name not being there is kind of like what's happening, how you're trying to figure out what's happening to him, right? Like you really don't get it. You don't.
That also kind of
That's not
ties
been-
in.
that's not
yeah.
been
It
given
kind of
to you.
also ties in with the whole like, what is it, Project Chaos, whatever.
Mayhem.
Project Mayhem. How did I not know that?
I don't know.
Anyway, one of the characters says, in Project Mayhem there are no names, and then in Death you have a name. Like they don't actually
and
name
then
him.
they try and give him a name too, and then like everyone starts chanting Robert Paulson.
Yeah.
Also, notice that the only people that really got a name was Bob. That's it.
Yeah, they didn't even say Angel Faces.
Face. Yeah, Angel Face. I mean, Angel Face is a nickname.
Yeah, you don't even know his name.
Well, you knew Marla,
Marla, yeah.
Marla too. Yeah, you're right.
but she
And
was
Tyler
like
Durden was just a thing.
It was also that she
Concept.
was the only female character, pretty much.
Yeah. I like the setup of the sequel. Like I don't think the payoff for it was good, but I like where it started off, and it's that Marla and the narrator are like married because he spent a couple of years in like government custody after blowing up basically the economy.
That's true.
And then he got out and then was like on so many antipsychotic medications that he didn't see Tyler anymore. And then they got married and had a kid. But their marriage started failing, and she was like, man, he's just terrible in bed. He's boring. He walks around like a zombie. I just wish we could
Yeah.
get that initial spark back. So then she just starts fucking with his medication.
Yeah, his meds.
And then Tyler comes out and then just reignites everything, and then just like, I'm going to blow up the whole world now. And I was like, that's a cool setup, but like, it
didn't execute well.
Well, because then it started trying to apply some kind of like supernatural theme to Tyler, where it's like, it talks about how the main character's parents might have had him, or the main character saw him when he was a kid too, and was talking to him as his imaginary friend. and then the main character's son starts seeing Tyler. Like, they try to make him some kind of ghost that possesses people generationally, and then they try to blame the Holocaust on Tyler and say that he infected Hitler.
I don't like that.
Hey,
Right?
man,
That's boring and lame.
Remember when Helena Bonham Carter was good?
Oh, yeah.
And then now she's in Alice in Wonderland 2. And let me tell you a story. Did you know?
Just the sight of her in my mind is hilarious.
That they gave Alice, the Red Queen, a backstory in Alice in Wonderland 2 to explain why she got her swollen head and why she hates pale weird Anne Hathaway. Wasn't the whole point of Alice in Wonderland that this doesn't have any meaning? So by retroactively giving it meaning, you're missing the whole point of the book.
Ruining the point, I guess.
And she was terrible in that movie too. It's like.
Did I ever tell you guys how I saw that Alice in Wonderland movie and I thought it was an animated movie?
Yes, you did. And then,
I didn't realize there was any live action in that because it was so heavily CGI'd. Like, everything had this sort of, like, silky texture to it that I thought it was just, like...
all CGI?
I thought it was all CGI, like Polar Express, where it was, like, hyper-realism. But it turns out there was, like, just people on green screens. And I was like, they look so synthetic.
And then, like...
yeah.
I think the last good thing that I saw Helena Bonham Carter in was that she played Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter.
I think it's funny
she was
that...
really great in that.
Yeah, I saw a couple of scenes from that you sent me.
That's kind of like how you use Helena Bonham Carter. If you want to have a person who's absolutely crazy, then use her.
Yeah. I like that her refusal to do nudity in this movie resulted in them making it like
a video game
a naked
scene?
CGI model of her for the sex scene.
No, naked video game sex scene is hilarious.
Have you seen Heavy Rain? Where they're just faces just... It's just two character models just rubbing up against each other with their lips awkwardly clipping.
Do you understand how hard it is to kiss?
Making two characters handshake is a pain in the ass. Making them have sex is harder.
There was a movie where David Cage's video game studio, Quantic Dreams, did the animation for a live-action CGI hybrid that's a French film based on a comic book directed by the author of the comic book. And it's about New York, where the god Horus...
Like in Futurama?
No, it's like futuristic New York. And there's this god Horus who possesses the last living human so that he can impregnate this woman so that they can bore his child. And it's basically French the Spirit, except with animation by Quantic Dream. And I want to watch it next time because it sounds terrible.
That's hilarious.
It's called Immortal Ad Vitam.
Yeah, I might want to watch that.
I know you're there.
That's why I'm interested in her.
You're Horus from Erechnopolis, god of the heavens. I'm flattered, Nicopole, wretched human.
You're the greatest mystery of nature I've ever come across. Some of the vertebrate animals on this planet shed their skin. You are going through the same process.
Young women like her are rare, extremely rare. There are only a few of them in the entire universe.
I think
Might have to look into that.
Our consensus on this movie is that I respect it now more than I did when I first watched it, but still it's not something that I would seek out because still the fans kind of poison it for me.
Okay, so we're just gonna run through a few quick ones.
Yeah.
What do you think of the ending?
Well, I already knew what it was going to.
No, like just like in terms of like the build up. How do you think the
was
movie?
Was it worth? Did it
the ending of the movie fits with the rest of it?
How'd it feel?
Well, I feel like they built up to it enough, and they surprised us in like different ways and different things, and like even though I knew that it was going to end with them blowing up the buildings, there were things that I didn't know, like just like the extent of what he'd been doing.
Right.
Okay.
Like that sort of approach, and I thought that there were some interesting reveals that I liked, and like I'm not sure what the whole romantic thing of holding hands while the world explodes. I didn't really get their relationship, but
I don't think you're gonna get that one. by the way.
Damn, I was really banking on that
No,
one.
I wasn't. I
was hoping...
didn't-
Should I tell him? I
Just
was
this one,
hoping
just
you would
this one.
use the words "just sort of ends."
Isn't that like every movie ever made?
No, because some of them are like, hey, that's satisfying. I don't know if you've gotten that.
It wasn't like
Wholly unsatisfying ending, Batman.
it wasn't fully unsatisfying, but it was like well, it could I was expecting it to be that way because I already knew how it was going to end.
Were there any likable
and
characters?
I was just like waiting for it to happen, but there was enough different that I got something new out of it. What?
Were there any likable characters?
Well, the main character, I'd say he was the most.
Well, because he's like really neurotic and weird,
Like,
and
he had flaws.
Yeah.
And
I
Marla.
like that.
I think
there
he
were-
has. You know
Okay,
what?
I
There
mentioned
were a
this like
couple of
90
sweet moments
times.
with
I
Marla where
love
she was
Marla.
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hi, can I come in?" It's like, "Oh, you're not a terrible person."
Yeah, she's not. I
And
like
then-
that development.
Bob. I liked Bob.
Bob was he was the emotional center of the movie because he was
loved
just so
that.
pure and sweet.
I know.
He
It's so
didn't have a
weird.
single mean bone in his body.
I know, it's so weird.
You know, I also think one of the
I think
things
I
that struck me is
shot.
that watching this again with you, I think all three of us have traits that the main character... Some people theorize his name is Jack because he keeps referencing that thing from the book. Like, I am Jack's organ.
Right.
So, Jack, we'll call him for now. I think he demonstrates a couple of features that all three of us have in different ways. Like, there's just different... Like, sort of the spastic kind of crazy way he talks kind of reminds me of Josh sometimes, but like his like really cynical manic depressed nature reminds me of myself. But then also sort of like his like really introspective and very thoughtful sort of dry wit kind of reminds me of David, right? Like I think he's relatable to all three of us for different ways. I think he's like one of my favorite movie characters, and I'm really sad that Edward Norton isn't the Hulk anymore because I think Mark Ruffalo.
I prefer Mark Ruffalo.
He just
I've
never
s-
got. He just never did it for me.
Like the first.
No actors.
Edward
Ruffalo's
Norton
the
just
Hulk.
didn't do.
I recognize
Just didn't
it.
do it for me at
I
the
don't know
Hulk.
it.
Yeah.
Because
Couldn't really talk.
Like-
I also heard he was a real drama queen on the set because he's a really like intense method
he's
actor.
always that way. He's always been that way.
So it's
like, on
it's
every
either
movie.
my way or the movie doesn't come out.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that while
Like,
that gets some great
I think
performances out of him,
one of the
that's
best
hard to
ways
work with.
that they ever used that was that they cast him in Birdman
As that
basically
guy,
that
they
character.
cast him as himself basically.
And then he has a giant fight with
The director-
Michael Keaton,
yeah.
the director, because he's like, no, it has to be this way, and it's kind of funny that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of great meta commentary about him in Birdman.
Like,
All right,
Birdman-
so that's our review of Birdman. You should check it out.
The Revenant was terrible, but Birdman was good.
Yeah, give me
don't
that
know.
Szechuan sauce.
So I think we've gone through all the material that we can actually like discuss in an intelligent way, and the rest of this video would just be us rambling.
Bantering.
So I think this is a good time for us to cut.
All right, this is the first comment. If you would watch Josh's YouTube videos,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do
comment.
that.
Yes, you should.
Josh has a big
God.
butt. If you would watch his videos,
Tweet hashtag Josh should do YouTube.
hashtag
Don't
Josh
do it.
butt.
Don't do it. Please
Do
stop.
it. We'll see you next time, and bye.
I'll be here though. I got pretty close. I was trying to picture I was trying to write out David's thoughts on the movie before he said them, and I'm very happy how close I got. I think that's both a testament to our friendship and also some other more negative connotations towards him as a movie reviewer.
Also, how predictable David is.
Wait, no, I was just kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. No. Ah!